kind of junglers, although we have seen a lot of Mortis play something along the lines of Rammus in the past. We know Prolly's favorite champion is Kennen, and if he could only pick Kennen, that's what he would do the entire time. And we know how powerful Damunlal can be in that bottom lane, but give us a little insight into what you think Reboot Gaming is going to wind up picking up or banning this game.
So Reboot definitely has quite a few traditional characters. Like looking at Patootie, their jungler, Shyvana is one of his prime junglers. And having played with him, he's grown quite a bit, but he was one of the few players back in February when Shyvana was not considered that strong to say, hey, is she okay? Like let's run her and see if it works. This was resolved with mixed opinions, but they have a lot of traditional characters. Camera, for example, will play a lot of Nidalee if he gets the opportunity to. Dumo, I know he loves his aggressive support with Lulu and Janna. He will play it very aggressive, actually. And Mnemonic, if he can get a good team for Vayne, he will play Vayne. But in terms of overall compositions, it's been quite a while since I've played them. They were big on the poke comps. So something like Nidalee and Trundle on the same team, Trundle using that pillar to slow people down, Nidalee chucking out spears, were one of their big deals. And let's actually see what they do pull out. Because, they are unheard of, but they have had time to look up Legion. Actually, Camera messaged me not knowing I was going to be casting this game, asking if I had any, replays or advice for beating Legion. It's like, I really can't say anything about that. Sorry.
And that is one thing that Legion really does like to do as well. They love researching their teams. I remember when we were at PAX Prime, they actually wound up getting an OGN account so they could watch the show matches between Invictus Gaming and Counter Logic Gaming when they had to play them in the opening matches just to find out exactly what was going to be going on. So they do like doing their research, and it does indeed see that they are going to be snatching up Nunu as their first pick, Karthus Maokai, and Sona being banned out. Sona, a pretty familiar ban for Legions. They banned out the way from Chowster at the North American Regionals. And we have Alistar Shen and Twisted Fate being banned out from Reboot Gaming. Not afraid of any of those mid champions. Probably likes to play like Zyra or Kennen. And they're deciding to just ban out Twisted Fate instead.
They are hovering on Taric right now in Reboot, which is a very uncommon pick. Taric's really fallen out of the scene lately. I think a lot of it has to do with his long cooldowns at the starting levels, with his stun being a 14-second cooldown, which is kind of insane. So let's go ahead and see if they actually do go through with this. Taric Graves, that's like the traditional solo queue lane. The stun comes out from Taric, in comes a Shatter, then the Buckshot, blow people up, but it's really fallen out of favor in the pro scene. Do they lock it in? Are they going for this? This is kind of a statement, and I actually want to see how Legion reacts.
I know that Taric's been actually seen a little bit on the rise recently. I believe that there was a Taric Corki lane that Team Dynamic was favoring a lot, and they are going to be locking in that Taric pick right here, so we could see a lot of aggression. Like you said, Taric's going to have the hard CC from the Dazzle. He's going to have the Shatter Aura to reduce armor, but also add armor onto Graves, and Graves is a pretty tanky AD carry in and of himself.
So they do actually lock it in. I want to see Legion's response, but Jace currently being selected by iNoobish. Jace, the terror of the top lane. He's actually been seeing solo queue bans lately, which is, the meta shifting to people realizing Jace is actually amazing. DemonLol himself locks in Ashe, something I haven't seen him play a whole lot. I see him mostly as a Corki player, normally ADs with more mobility, so it should be interesting to see this.
Yeah, Damunlal's style isn't really to sit down in farm lane, although what Legion has done in the past is really abuse the fact that Ashe's ultimate is absolutely insane and has a very, very long range. Picking up the Jace in the top lane, like you said, being pretty much targeted as a solo queue man, not necessarily the flavor of the month as much as the man that could do it all from the top lane. He has very, very strong poke on himself as well. Nunu is probably going to be in the jungle and acting as a barrier, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were to pick up some sort of pokey or aggressive kind of support character to go with this. But on the side of Reboot, they're hovering over Amumu and Malphite, and Amumu, one of those characters you don't normally see a lot of team play around him either.
They're going for heavy AoE, heavy initiation. If you look at Legion's team, they have a clear plan. With Nunu, with Jace, they want to kite, they want to poke. Ashe will just help supplement that, because they can always disengage with their ultimate, and Ashe is probably the best AD kiter in the game, just because volley is such a good slow, and any auto attack means it's incredibly difficult to catch up to Ashe unless you're blowing flash and a bandage toss flash and a Malphite ultimate, which, covering that much ground can almost be suicide. So right now, Reboot, they want to find a way to actually block that hard disengage coming out from Legion. At the same time, probably making a very smart pick right now, Morgana. So let's say Amumu does land his ultimate. Let's say Malphite gets a good unstoppable force off. If Prolly's quick enough, he can Black Shield that target that needs to survive. So if DemonLol's in danger, you'll see that Black Shield come out instantly, and he'll be perfectly fine. Just walk away from that fight.
Yeah, that's very, very true. So Morgana being a very, very good pick. I know probably doesn't necessarily like playing Morgana, but as you said, it's going to definitely be the right pick to pick up in this team composition. The last remaining choice, of course, is that support character, or it could be a jungler. And ooh, it is actually going to be a jungler. Going for a Shyvana pick, taking that away from Reboot Gaming. Laudamoris not necessarily known for his Shyvana play, although he has been known to play a little bit of Nocturne, who has a similar play style, but Shyvana doesn't necessarily have the same kind of engage mechanisms that Paranoia offers.
Now, I like the Shyvana pick. What they're going to try and do is be,
Oh,
oh,
don't
that
get
would
my
be very
hopes up,
cool. That might
Cameron.
not be a troll pick, but I don't know. Let's
I
hold off on that.
I really hope that Cameron is going to decide to Shushei it up a little bit.
Well, hopefully do better than Shushei did in that game. Shyvana, though, it's actually a really solid pick because think about it. What are they going to try and do with the Mumu? They need him to get farmed up, need him to hit 6 ASAP, and you'll have, the very decent Mumu ganks. Oh, that is also a possibility. Iranium is a very good Victor.
I was
One of the
gonna
few Victor
say-
players out there.
I saw the match history and I was like, no, this has to be an error on the side.
I
Nobody
actually
plays Victor.
did. I did a daily on Iranium's Victor. It is really good. They can lock this in. I don't know how it does against Morgana, but hey, it's another good CC. It'll actually really follow through with the Amumu and Malphite because you lay down. I actually do not know the name of it, but that purple field he lays down.
His ult.
It's oh well, his ult too. No, he's got the stun.
The gravity
It
field.
slows into a stun. The gravity field, yeah. You lay that down, and someone who's stuck in a Mumu ult and someone being knocked up by Malphite ult, that's great just synergy because it'll chain into the stun, and there's very little people can do to actually escape that. So that's a very cool composition coming out from Reboot, trying to go ahead and stop the heavy cutting potential coming out from Legion. And all right, I'm expecting iNewish and Cruiser to switch at some point because normally Jace is not a support. Oh, there we go.
Unless your name is Lustboy, because Lustboy.
Yeah, I was about to
plays
say
very
they
good
have
support
done
Jace.
that in Korea, and it was awesome. But I want to see how this matchup plays out. So Shyvana is gonna try hard to counter jungle Amumu, and if Legion ever gets a good disengage off, they're in an amazing position because there's no follow up. If Amumu ult gets stopped, if Malphite ult gets stopped. At the same time, if Amumu gets a good Curse This Had Mummy, if Malphite just walks right in there, then dashes and just knocks people in the air with his really. What does he do when he unstoppable force? Is that a headbutt?
It's pretty much a body slam.
Body slam?
Yeah.
That knocks people up. The physics don't make sense, but he's a
It's
giant
League of
rock, so
Legends.
who cares?
It's very,
Or-
very true. Can't
When
stop
he,
the
when he
rock.
does do the unstoppable force and is unstoppable, if they don't have a way to get away from that, because you can't stop it, they're going to be in a
It's
really bad
unstoppable.
position on Legion. Yeah. They put it in the name for a reason.
It's very, very true. Now, just taking a quick look over here, as you mentioned, Laudamoris picking up the Shyvana is going to be very, very apt at counter jungling. Perhaps going to see an invade early on from Legion. They do actually have the gate coming out from Jace they could use effectively to speed themselves up or slow the enemies down. They have the volley. They have Nunu in order to throw those ice blasts if he so chooses to get it at level 1. Morgana has the dark binding, but on the side of Reboot, they have Taric with the dazzle. They have Malphite who's going to have a slow, and if Victor decides to go for that gravity field at level 1 and Legion goes to invade, they could all literally get trapped in that, and it'd be a very, very bad spot for them. So do you think that there's going to be any early aggression coming out from the side? Do you think that with that Shyvana pick, it's just going to be continuous denial of resources to Amumu, forcing him to try to gank a little bit more?
Well, Legion's not exactly known for playing passively, especially at the early levels. I would not be surprised to see them all look up, try to make sure Patootie does not get a solid start with a blue buff, with anything Amumu wants. And this is something very smart to do. They do have, I'd say, a more consistent level 1 team. Like you said, Victor can get Gravity Field, but then they're lacking a lot of damage for that level 1 fight. So they have a more consistent team just because they do have the binding, they do have Jace who might have Acceleration Gate, or even just his normal Q will be very effective because it's essentially 2 nukes. And they have a better level 1 team fight. It'd be a great invade if they could do it. At the same time, you did mention Taric, and Taric being on any team means they have good level 1 fight. Just because the stun lands, the auto attacks follow up, that can be enough for a kill just right there. So I want to see what happens in terms of invade, but I'd give Legion the benefit that they're probably going to go for that blue, or at least try and slow down Patootie because no one wants an Amumu farmed up. Just ask Azingi.
Oh, that's very, very true. No one wants to farm to Mumu, especially if it's a Zingy. When you have triple Doran's ring and all of a sudden there's a Frozen Heart as the next item, the enemy team just quakes in fear. Don't know if Patootie is going to wind up doing the same kind of thing here, although it would be very, very entertaining. So, studio, we have a couple more seconds before we get into this match right here. Bottom lane matchup. We talked about the champions individually. I haven't talked about them, all together right now. We do have Ashe going with Nunu, so there's going to be a lot of aggression in that lane. The double slows coming out, but Taric has the hard CC and the stun, and Graves, of course, with that quick draw to get away. Who do you think is going to have the edge in that bottom lane?
So it's all about landing that perfect stun. And Ashe doesn't have a distance skill. She cannot escape from the stun. She just has to walk out. So unless she blows cleanse, every time a Taric stun comes out, Reboot has to capitalize on it. They have to get a lot of damage onto Ashe and just, make the most. The problem is Graves, he's only at 525 range. Ashe is going to have 600. She's going to have Blood Boil, possibly at level 1. And she's going to be able to walk all over Graves just with auto attacks. She doesn't even have to use Volley, which you factor in Volley, that will be a huge pain. But Ashe versus Graves is actually a pretty solid lane for Ashe early on, and if they can capitalize on it, if they can make a good snowball, Graves will just have to passively farm back because he will not have enough damage or CS to actually try to burst Ashe down.
All right, we're just going to have to see how it does pan out. The loading screen is on. All the awesome skins are in full effect except for Taric, so I'm automatically discounting Reboot from this entire match.
No,
everybody has a skin
Taric.
except for Taric. No Bloodstone Taric, no
Bloodstone
Fabulous
Taric. No,
Taric,
that doesn't count.
No,
They need Fabulous Taric.
I'm green for no apparent reason Taric.
I'm trying to think of when that skin got released. I think it got released along with Armor of the Fifth Age Taric, and it's just like, here are Tarics of different colors of different gems.
Get it? One Sapphire and one is Jade. But regardless, ladies and gentlemen, I was about to say we're into the game, but it does look like we have a pause going out right away from the side of Legion, just to make sure that all their settings are A-OK. As a matter of fact, I should probably make sure mine are A-OK, and it does seem that everything is going to be looking good. So, it says Cruiser needs to reconnect. Apparently, there was a bug splat problem. So as soon as Cruiser gets back in the game, them bugs. I was going to make a joke about it, but it seems we have no bug-like champions in this game, so
let's see, maybe no. Victor, I guess? Well, let's actually talk about Victor. So, do you know what Victor does?
I know that Victor is a very underrated champion and has ridiculous amounts of burst damage, but is a little bit squishy.
Yeah, he's a very unique champion, so there are a few things that can go very well for him. But, just going through his skills, because I think people tend to forget them, he does have a laser he can shoot out. You aim it at the ground, and it kind of moves forward. I believe you control it like a Rumble ultimate. Mm-hmm. He has the gravity field, which we mentioned before. You lay it down, people get slowed. If they're in it for long enough, they get CC'd. He then has... I don't even know what it's called. Actually, let me double-check the name of that.
His ultimate?
His E.
Oh, the E.
No. Oh, no. His E is Death Ray. Power Transfer, his Q. So that's a nuke that he launches out, and a portion of the damage will come back as a shield. And his ultimate is that giant cloud thing. It has a very brief silence on it, which is good for interrupts. And afterwards, it just follows people around, dealing incredible amounts of damage. So the way Victor works out in lane is, if he tries to trade with power transfer, and there's a small delay before he gets that shield, when that happens, you can lose trades, you can win trades, but he wants to be aggressive early on. And eventually, once you start getting all of your skills, especially your ultimate, you just have this amazing burst combo, where if the enemy champion that you're up against mid lane, even Morgana, with a black shield, if she does get CC'd somehow by the gravity field, the burst that comes out will be so high, she either has to flash away to escape the cloud that comes out from Victor, or she'll die immediately. And it's a very dangerous position. It's a very cool champion, but he's relatively short range when it comes to using power transfer, and he does tend to be tricky to use. But we do have an invade coming out from Legion. They actually ward the red buff, trying to keep tabs on Amumu and make sure he does not, go out of control with his jungling.
So it does seem that Legion, perhaps being a little precautious, they did go on the invade towards the red buff, maybe thinking that since the enemy team had an Amumu, they were either going to protect or invade. They do see that the team is going to protect, and Shyvana going to start over at her rates, probably go for a red buff a little bit early on. We could see some early games coming out from Shyvana, although we do have Reboot going for a lane swap, bringing Taric and Graves into the solo lane, but on the side of Legion, kind of looks like the same thing might be happening as Nubish and Damunlal waiting around for Morgana to leash that blue buff very quickly.
It's a great call coming up from Legion, actually. Reboot, it's smart of them. They may not do well against Ashe and Nunu just because of that range poke coming out. So decide to swap lanes. They could punish someone like Jace very well in a 1v1 situation or 1v2 situation. However, Legion call it, and you know what? They decide we can fight that easily. There's no reason for them not to swap lanes. So a great little call coming out from Legion that could actually have a huge impact on the game.
And not only this, but now Prowly has donated the blue buff level 1 in the mid lane. So Victor, as like you said, has a very short range, which he's going to be able to trade with. Prowly's going to be spamming spells right out of the gate. So Victor's not going to have the most fun in that mid lane.
And something nice about Morgana getting that early blue is she does benefit quite a bit from her spell vamp. So it's also sustain as well as, the additional spamming coming out.
But we do see a ward over here as Mortis potentially going for an early red buff gank into that top lane where the bottom lane is now present, although everybody knows what is up and are backing away from the early ward they put down. However, Legion also with their own ward over by the red buff sees that Patootie on Amumu is right there. He is going to run away now. Amumu at level 2, not necessarily the best champion to go for trades for, and some early counter jungling going in. Nubish coming down to secure this red buff away, and Mortis early on is doing that counter jungling to try to keep Amumu out of the game early.
A great call from Reboot to go ahead and back off, avoiding a fight they did not want to enter, especially with Graves and Tarek missing a lot of CS. But really, this is not the start you want on Amumu. He's lost a lot of CS. This is how you counter Amumu, actually. And if they can't, get something back for him, it's going to be a huge issue. But Amumu is actually heading towards Shyvana's jungle, trying to get some countering going on, getting as much experience as he can. He's barely level 3, so he needs to catch up, and he needs to catch up fast.
And one thing is the Mortis actually around the same experience as Amumu right now, so the counter jungling, perhaps maybe the waiting in the brush for a little bit for that early gank that did not come to be, putting him behind just a little bit. But Shyvana, as you mentioned, has a very, very quick clear time compared to Amumu, who really needs to be able to sit around and just have his jungle for himself. Amumu, of course, is going to take a little bit more damage from Shyvana as well, having to tank through with that Despair as well as Tantrum, waiting for the minions to actually hit him for that to refresh his cooldown a bit quicker. So we do have Amumu continuing the counter jungling, much like Shyvana. A lot of Mortis now finding that his rates are missing. A little bit sad about that one. Meanwhile, on the bottom lane, Cruiser the Bruiser and Rebo Camera down here just trading blows back and forth. We saw Jace just kind of going into hammer form and harassing a Malphite from a range and then knocking him back when Malphite decided he wanted to get a little bit close. So nothing too much really going on in this game, just some standard stuff right now. Morgana is kind of rotating towards this bottom lane right here with the blue buff.
We have a dive being set up.
Yeah.
Ooh. A lot more is already in the bush. They're going to have the red buff camera. Smart enough to actually back up. This is something that we don't see very often. Most solo lanes, when they're in that situation, they don't know what to do. They just end up getting dove on and killed. But sacrificing some CS to make sure you do not give away that first blood is a very important thing to do. So Camera with a good call there. Good communication coming out from Reboot.
With every single buff down on the map, Reboot did identify that with a Morgana missing from the mid lane, she's probably roaming somewhere. So having that solo lane at below half health, Camera doing a really great job of just staying back. He did have to get that Doran shield because he thought he was going into a 1v2 lane. He was going to have to just farm under the tower. Cruiser the Bruiser taking full advantage of this, switches into his melee form, goes under tower. First blood is picked up by Cruiser as he flashes away in style from that tower. Very nice kill there.
And this is the power of Jace. His burst combination is always tremendous. Even at the turret, he killed Camera almost instantly from about 300 HP. So, I do not believe Camera was expecting it. A great play overall coming out from Cruiser, and unfortunately, Camera could not really react to it. The most he could hope for was to actually flash and dodge the Q coming out from Cruiser, but he could have followed that up himself and probably still secured that kill. But Jace getting ahead in the bot lane, not what Reboot really wants. Once he starts to snowball, Jace is actually very hard to come back against. Even with Camera, what has he bought in response? He just bought the boots, so he doesn't have any real defense yet. And Jace will be able to walk all over him because so much CS just got denied at that bot lane. And how is CS up in the top lane? DemonLoL is about equal with Mnemonic, so very equal actually. The lane going passively, which is definitely in favor of Reboot. Once they hit level 6, they can start going aggressive, going for stuns on Nunu into Buckshot and Ignites, since Ashe does have that cleanse.
It's very, very true. So we do actually have Jace in the bottom lane going for double Doran's Blade to get an immediate advantage over Malphite, continuing to press his dominance right now. As you said, Malphite only able to pick up his boots in addition to 4 health potions, so he is going to be playing extremely passive, and Cruiser just really going to go for the throat in that bottom lane. Meanwhile, we do see Mortis and Prowly now walking right over a ward. They want to go for a gank here on top lane. Top lane is going to be able to fall back. Mnemonic and Dumbo doing a really great job of being aware, but now there are 4 members of Legion in this top lane. They could potentially be going for a very early tower here. We do see Victor going to be coming up from mid lane. Morgana knows what's up. There goes the ultimate. Soul Shackles goes down. There's the bind with the silence coming out from the ultimate on Victor. Amumu comes in with a very nice bandage toss. Probably has to flash over the wall to get out of there. A lot of Mortis has come into the fray, but he has fallen very low, and the Mana's going to pick up that kill right there, going to the AD carry of Graves. Now Patootie getting caught in a dark binding and a pool combination, but Legion, this backfired on them very, very poorly.
One more stun. One of the stun up. The stun's actually up on Duma. They do not go for that chase, though. A very good counterattack, A lot of Mortis, once he got in there, he's still only level 4, the same level as Patootie, actually. So that counter drilling from Patootie proving to be very effective. Just did not have, that beef and tank you want. Now in the bot lane, actually, Camera taking a lot of damage from Cruiser as he's just following up, using that hammer stance, using that E. And the thing is, Jace, he's going to get that mana back if he does decide to CS and hammer stance. He's going to have that range poke. Not a lot Malphite can do in this situation, especially being already out of mana.
And unfortunately, he's also out of health potions right now, so the next time Cruiser goes in for the kill, he could actually secure it right there. So as you mentioned, Jace being the jack of all trades, also a 2-level advantage. Look at the damage going down as Cruiser just wails away onto camera right now. Looks like, even though the Malphite has the shield and everything, Jace is just utterly abusing this with his foray of skills.
And actually, his Ignite is going to be up very soon. If he can get just a couple more pokes, that poke actually could have been the death of camera right there. He's looking for that opening, though. Just a few more seconds and his Ignite will be up, and that will be just one combo to kill camera.
Gonna have to see if Cruiser does go for it. Does seem that Patooty's coming down, showing himself to make sure Cruiser backs up. Unstoppable Force goes down onto Cruiser the Bruiser's Jace. Camera taking a lot of damage in response, though. Cruiser taken to the skies and will knock down Malphite right there. Can Patooty seal the deal, though? A flash goes off and a Tantrum in despair. The Trail of Tears will indeed pick up a kill on Jace. So trading 1-for-1 in the bottom lane, coming out a little bit more than Reboot perhaps thought they could have, but probably he's not done yet. He's gonna come down here, lands a pull down, but he's not gonna be able to follow up with the Dark Binding or anything. And Patooty just gonna walk away on his little mummy legs.
But actually, the big thing here, what Prolly's doing, he's just going to go ahead and push up the lane as much as he can to try and deny as much CS onto camera as possible. So camera only at 21 CS, Cruiser, he's up to 51. They just want to snowball that bot lane, and denying the CS with Morgana is actually a great idea. I mean, that is the power of Jace. His burst is just so high. You cannot fight when all of his skills are up if you're at half HP, because he will just kill you in response. Top lane.
Go ahead. No, I was actually going to talk about
top lane. Top lane. Well, because as that happened, Blue Steel actually came out. Probably managed to secure the blue buff with his binding. But top lane, Pneumatic and Dumo taking a lot of damage just from Ashe. This is why Ashe Nunu is so strong. Just watch her auto attack. It's so fast, and Pneumatic, cannot get too close to her. That's because he'll instantly turn on his Frost Shot and just get 1 to 2 free shots off, which will very quickly whittle down Pneumatic.
This is something that we see a lot. Oh, there goes the Hawk Shot off, and Dumo's going to be taking a little bit of damage there. They do always have to be wary of that Enchanted Crystal Arrow. If they extend a little bit too far here, Ashe does have Cleanse available as well. So if there is a stun and they think they can get an initiation, Legion can turn that completely around with an absolute 0 cleanse and an Enchanted Crystal Arrow. That is a ton of damage that no one is going to want to take right there. Pneumatic even taking a bunch of Ice Blast damage as Nunu continuing to run a little bit of zone defense. Taric trying to get brush control, but Nunu just not afraid to walk in there and take a little bit of damage in response. They are going to call a little bit of help over from the jungler Patooty on Amumu, trying to come over and get something done, but Nubish is recalling at the same time. Damonmal's left here alone. This could be very dangerous.
He does have that cleanse, though, and unfortunately, Amumu's ult, if it does get cleansed off and a flash comes out from Demon Lul, they're not going to have too much follow-up. Taric's stun will last for about half a second, which might be enough. He is spotted out by a ward, though. They're just going to go ahead, have Demon Lul disengage. He will be getting CS very soon once that creep wave hits the turret, but not a successful gank. It's okay. But at the same time, Legion, look what they're doing. A lot of Morris already at the dragon, trying to secure it. Cruiser joining him. This can be a very hard fight just because camera right now doesn't have a whole lot. Doesn't even have any completed basic items. No Philistone.
Nothing at all. But they do have double Doran's Blade on Doran's Ring on Victor, whereas probably Morgana only has one, so going for the sorcerer issues first has a little bit more magic penetration, but Victor a little bit more health and a little bit more damage for the beginning part of this game. They decide to actually disengage from the dragon, and that's going to cost Lauda Mortis a little bit. We did say that he was counter jungling. One of the things is going to be having Shyvana constantly trying to deny Amumu, but in doing so, it looks like Lauda Mortis has fallen a little bit behind in his own jungle. He's actually on par with Amumu in experience. Just went back, picked up his own Wriggles Lantern, so he's going to be able to clear it a little bit faster though. But he's not doing this. He's not getting as far ahead as Amumu as he wants to. And come teamfight phase, they're going to be on even footing.
And of course, Amumu, if he's on equal footing with Shyvana, is going to be much more effective just because, the ultimate is just so devastating from Amumu. And unfortunately, I think a lot of that was that early red steal and just the time he spent in the brush. Patooty took Wraith's left one creep there. He took Golem's left one minion there. So it was actually Amumu counter jungling that really started to set Lauda Mortis behind. That early kill that he did give him in the top lane was also a huge boost to them, as, Cruiser takes out the bot turret. Malphite, he cannot hold it. There is nothing he can do in this lane, only at 34 CS. Jace right now has 40 more CS than Malphite. He's more than doubling camera CS. That is devastating.
That is just such a beatdown. But speaking of beatdown, we have Lauda Mortis solo in the dragon once again. Those Wriggles Lantern procs going to be extremely helpful here. Cruiser the Bruiser is going to zone out camera, and Lauda Mortis can be taking down that all by himself. Deciding to recall in the dragon pit. A ward does go down from camera, but I don't think they can. Oh, they can see Lauda Mortis there. Is he going to get the unstoppable force? Oh, he does, but a dragon form over the wall. Dragon's Ascent, saving Lauda Mortis' life, and now Cruiser the Bruiser goes in on camera. Just a couple pot shots to get him out of the way. Good escape there by Lauda Mortis.
I have to say, just the imagery of that was perfect, as it looked like Lauda Mortis got unstoppable force out of the pit. I mean, a great little reaction from Lauda Mortis. He was trying to, of course, save the ultimate not use any resources. But in the end, what got traded there? Morris, he got Dragon. He did have to use his own ultimate, but now Camera, you can't gank his lane right now. If Patootie does show up down there, which it looks like he might be, they're just not going to have enough damage or control to actually keep Jace in place.
Not at all. That is an ultimate burn that Malphite really needs, whereas Shyvana being content to sit in the jungle for the entirety of this match, except for maybe 1 or 2 sparing ganks. Not really going to need her Dragon's Descent to go to the jungle, so we do have Patootie, as you said, with an Oracle's Elixir now, making sure there are no wards around. Cruiser getting baited a little bit here. There's the Bandage Toss and the Curse of the Sad Mummy. Knockback goes down onto Patootie, a flash away from Cruiser the Bruiser, but those Qs, the
acceleration gate, is it going to be enough?
So much, but is it going to be enough for the acceleration gate? Cruiser right now, flash forward from Camera. Cruiser deciding to juke backwards. Patootie getting knocked backwards and then to the skies. Mortis comes in to try to do something right now, but Patootie taking a lot of damage. He will get the kill, and the flash is using a Bandage Toss to a minion to survive. That is a great play there from Patootie. Probably going to try to flash and get the Dark Binding, but a good juke there from Amumu. Ignite does go down, gets tagged with a little bit of damage from the pool from Morgana, but I don't think it's going to be enough to take him down. Victor comes in, uses the ultimate, uses the laser, uses the gravitation field, all the skills being burned, and then all in all, it is a 1 for none in favor of Reboot Gaming.
So not a bad exchange at all. Despite not having Unstoppable Force, they still picked up that kill. A great play. Is actually probably now, he might be in a bit of danger. Does have a shield up fairly soon, but you know what? Morris does come from around. They do spot him with that ward over at Dragon, and probably will be able to retreat. That Flash Bandage Toss, that is one of the more interesting plays I've ever seen, just because, you know, people will normally try to just angle around, but he knew that with Morris on him, he would just block that path. Amumu would not be able to Bandage Toss to a creep, and that was a great escape. As actually Morris might be caught out himself, does get stunned. Rame's trying to put on the damage, doesn't have a lot of mana himself. Another CC from Tarek does land, but Morris will walk on out of there. Blue buff is secured for Reboot, though.
And we do actually see that Mortis tried to use his smite, seeing if he can get the...
top lane actually, Mnemonic being dove on by IPLLoL and Anubis. One more auto attack, that will be it. Fortunately, Mnemonic got caught between a turret, a forest, and a very cold Nunu casting absolute 0.
I believe there is an enchanted crystal arrow used a little bit earlier on, so that was not even up, so they do want to take in the top tower. Meanwhile, Cruiser the Bruiser wailing away on this mid tower. Legion pushing down all 3 outer towers within the first 15 minutes. Patootie is going to land a Bandage Toss in here, but Jay's going to take to the skies, wailing away on Amumu, the poor little Sad Mummy, then knocking him back for the finish off. Half of the HP from Amumu, the tank of the team, is gone from that full Jay's combo.
As it all goes on, IPLLoL and Iadumish doing work to the Lizard right now, trying to take that red buff. Patootie actually Bandage Tosses to a creep, doesn't get the... And actually the fight, are they trying to fight this? Patootie's very low, doesn't have his ultimate off, will go down. Iadumish and IPLLoL just doing work right now. Dumo, you gotta walk out of there. He flashes, but will that be enough? The slows are just so strong.
Look at the machine gun firing from the Blood Boil on top of Tumulwell's Ash, and then the chain slow. There is no way that anyone's going to be able to survive from that one. Legion really taking it to this top lane, which is technically the bottom lane of Reboot, and now all four of the 5 members of Legion coming up here, just going to be counter jungling, going to be taking away that red buff we saw a little bit earlier, and this tower just completely exposed. Graves, not in the best of places here. He has kept up in CS with Ash very nicely, 132 to compare to 134, but Ash with 3 kills, 0 deaths to Graves, 1 and a death. Just really can't compare to her right now.
And of course, there's the dragons that have the dragon that's gone down in favor of Legion. 2 turrets have gone down in favor of Legion. Right now, Ashe is actually very far ahead. And of course, how much gold has she gotten from Hawkshot? 109 gold actually, so not bad at all. Right now, Legion, they're in a good place just to keep snowballing out of control. They're up 5,000 gold. They have a great late game carry, a great mid game carry actually, when Ashe is being supported by Nunu. So the question is, what does Reboot do in this situation? They can go for the team fights, but we're going to very quickly see whether or not they actually have the oomph and the damage to fight as a team right now. In a 5v5, they do have some great ultimates, but will it be enough?
I don't know about that one, Studio, but we did see one thing that Patootie did was get an early Oracle's Elixir. Unfortunately, after a couple ganks, he did wind up losing it in that last engagement. So not having the ability to deny vision to Legion is just going to let Legion continue to press down onto Reboot's base and continuing to ward up. They even have a ward in the middle of the lane right here. They have aggressive wards in the enemy jungle. They have them absolutely all over the place. I'm going to quote myself once again. They have the map lit up like a Christmas tree, Studio. So if Reboot's able to deny this kind of vision from Legion, they will be able to just sit back and safely farm their own jungle, which they're not able to do right now.
Right now, if you're a Reboot, you're in one of 2 places. 1, a place where Legion knows you are, or 2, you're in your base hiding. So right now, like, they cannot do anything with confidence. And you're going to see actually a lot of Morris now heading towards that bot lane with the Oracles. Dragon should be respawning very soon, which is also why Inubish is there. And DemonLoL was actually just soloing top up there, and just because of the ultimate from him, the volley and his flash cleanse still being up, there was no way that any gank could have been successful against DemonLoL, especially with that good ward coverage coming out from Legion. They don't have quite as many wards as Reboot does, but still, if someone comes in from the jungle, they will know on actually either side of the map. I mean, right now, it's just the grouping up for the Dragon. This is the 5v5 that Reboot needs, but is it going to be what they can actually win?
I don't know if Legion actually wants to engage or something. They are quite far ahead, 25.2 to 19.9, or now 20k gold, so about a 5,000 gold advantage at less than 20 minutes into the game. It's very, very solid. We do see probably going to finish that Zanya's Hourglass first, something that Reginald from TSM really likes to do. Doesn't quite have the gold to finish it off in one fell swoop right now, but if they do wind up getting to that 5v5 engagement, Morgana with the Zanya's Hourglass, what they need. There's the engagement though from DemonLoL. Arrow goes down, the Soul Shackles and everything goes down from Legion. Probably tagging all 4 members of Reboot Gaming as Jace's remaining member takes out Malphite. Looks like Shyvana's gonna be going down to Amumu, but the chase from Legion takes everybody down. Morgana with a triple kill right there. Nubish even finishing the deal with an Ice Blast, and I take back everything I said right there. They didn't even need Zanya's Hourglass in that fight, Studio.
And the problem is they're just too far behind. Like, the poke came out from Legion before the fight even started. Cruz was using his acceleration blast with a gate, well, shock blast with the acceleration gate to actually just poke away at the enemy champions. And there's no response from Reboot. They don't have good poke. They do have Victor's death ray, but if Victor's in front, especially in that small confined area, he's gonna get hit, and that cannot happen. So a very unfortunate exchange. And then once Probably flashed over the wall, used his Morgana ultimate, and the rest of Legion was actually spread out, barely being affected by the Amumu ult, the fight was essentially over. A great engagement coming up from Legion. They used less AoE, but they used it so much more efficiently, it was much stronger than what Reboot actually had.
The one awesome thing about that in team engagement as well was DemonLoL using his Enchanted Crystal Arrow on Malphite, knowing that Malphite was the initiator to this team fight. Stopping Malphite meant that when his Unstoppable Force did go off, the entire team from Reboot was a bit behind him. So not only did he just fall extremely quick to the power of DemonLoL and Cruiser the Bruiser's Jace, but that let Probably flash over the wall, tag all 4 members of Reboot, send them into disarray, and well, the rest is just history right now, Studio. 10 kills to 4 is the story for Legion. A solid 9,000 gold lead advantage over and 4 towers compared to 0. Enchanted Crystal Arrow almost splashing Amumu and picking up the blue buff there, but not gonna land as good as it could have been. Spell looks like the Black Shield going through Victor's gravity field, not letting the slow or the stun go down. Jace is gonna come into the skies and just absolutely crush Victor.
Oh, this will make sense actually. Cruiser now has that Bloodthirst, now has a lot of damage. The rest of Reboot actually trying to do something. Patootie has another Oracles, might just lose it again. Actually, no, that was Nubish's, but he will go down. Just nothing really coming out to protect him. Camera has to ult away as Malphite, and they lost the Removal. His ultimate wasn't up yet. Camera doesn't have his ultimate up anymore. At this point, Legion can just safely push and take out this turret with no response.
They could sit there and poke as well, which just looks like what they're going to be doing, forcing Malphite away from that tower. Morgana and Ashe just having a little bit too much poke power, and Reboot Gaming not be able to defend the second tower there. And it looks like they are going to get the surrender boat out. So Legion going to take a very quick 20-minute victory, 12-4 in kills and 33.7k to 23k in gold. That is going to be the first game going to Legion of this best-of-3 series between Legion and Reboot. Studio, what do you think Reboot's going to have to do against Legion to try to come back into this best-of-3?
Well, Reboot had a very solid team composition, but a very predictable team composition. Almost every move Reboot did, Legion saw coming. So, for example, the lane swap. The first thing Legion did was just keep their own lane swap in response because they knew they could win the 1v1 and 2v2 lanes if that's what happened. So, most of Reboot's moves were just kind of called out. Movement across the map, the fight against Dragon. Legion knew how to group up, knew how to spread out to make sure Malphite, when he finally left that Enchanted Crystal Arrow, could not really hit more than 1 to 2 people with his ultimate. So Reboot, they have to be a bit more subtle, a bit more sneaky with how they play. Unfortunately, when you have a big AoE composition that's really strong mid-game, what do teams know you want to do? Fight mid-game, and Legion played against that. If they can play a bit more dynamic, a bit more unpredictable, they had that surprise factor that Legion really caught them out with.
All right, we're gonna have to see if Reboot Gaming has learned what they made mistakes on in this game number 1 of a best-of-3 against Legion, or is Legion gonna be able to close this out in a 2-0 victory and advance into that round of 8 matches? They can go either up against, I believe it is Monomaniac Ferris or Going to bring up the brackets to actually double check, or Troopers Troopers, which will be cast a little bit later on in the week. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, game number 2, Reboot Gaming down 1-0. Can they come back and take it to game 3 against Legion, or will Legion close it out? We'll have to see, but right